Here's what Ayanna Pressley has to say about the Equal Rights Amendment. Listen.
The year is now 2020, and here we women are, still in so many ways, not fully free, still shackled. Today, I rise to affirm the humanity and the dignity of all women. I rise in strong, unapologetic, righteous support of H.J. Res. 79, which will strike the arbitrary deadline for ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment, an amendment that should already be the law of the land. Women are strong, hardworking, bright, and resilient. We are the backbones of our families, our communities, and our democracy. We do not live in checked boxes. We live in an intersectionality of lived experiences and identities. Our issues are everyone's issues because our destinies are all tied. Tomorrow's vote on H.J. Res. 79 is a vote for the preservation of our collective humanity. Despite our commitment to hard work, both within our households and on the job, we're still paid less than our male counterparts. In addition to pay discrimination, we face pregnancy discrimination, discrimination in the criminal legal system, sexual and domestic violence, and inadequate health care access. But this isn't an accident. The American Constitution is sexist by its very design.
First of all, can we just, can we back up? Did you catch where she said, we live in an intersectionality of lived experiences and identities? Did you catch that? We live in an intersectionality of lived experiences and identities. Do you know what that sentence means? Nothing. Doesn't mean anything. It has no meaning. It is a sentence without content. These are just words thrown together as a signal. It's a signal to other far leftists that she's a compatriot of theirs. The phrase intersectionality of lived experiences and identities means nothing other than, I am an enlightened leftist, please listen to me and take me seriously. Now, really it becomes, that's what it's a signal to other far leftists, but to everybody else, to normal people, to rational people, it becomes a signal of, I am a vapid, empty-headed person just spouting meaningless words to sound intelligent. Please don't take me seriously. That's how everybody else interprets it. But I mean, the moment you say intersectionality of lived experiences, I'm done. I'm not like, I couldn't take you seriously at that point. There's no way I could. Is there any such thing as an unlived experience? What's the point of saying lived? What's the point of attaching lived to experience? Considering that by definition, all experiences must be lived. If you had an experience, it means you lived it. By definition. Saying lived experience is like saying vehicular automobile. You're attaching words to other words to sound smart because you think that if you use more words than you need to, it's a sign of intelligence. It's actually quite the opposite. In any case, what reasons does she give for the amendment, other than the fact that we live in an intersectionality of lived experiences and identities? Well, she says the equal pay thing, which we've covered. And then she says the Constitution is sexist by design. This is false. Again, women have all the same rights that men do, and even some additional rights that we don't have, such as the right to kill their children. If the Constitution was sexist, that wouldn't be the case. She also says that women are discriminated against in the legal system. This is also false. In fact, women receive lighter sentences for the same crimes and are more likely to receive no jail time at all for crimes that send men to jail. And that is after controlling for things like criminal history. Aside from that, she has a bunch of sort of general platitudes about the horrors of being women in modern America, and I'll respond to those in a minute. But first, let's add Rashida Tlaib into the mix.
Thank you so much. I rise very proudly, the first Muslim woman ever elected in Congress, in support of House Joint Resolution 79. I swear it's what's even more interesting is what I've been hearing about is this obsession to control and oppress women in the United States of America. And I cannot believe it's 2020 and we're still debating the merits of Equal Rights Amendment. It's beyond time. I want you all to know this is about women of color, women with disabilities, transgender women, immigrant women, all these women are affected by issues like unequal pay, sexual violence, lack of access for health care, and poverty. So much of what we're doing here in trying to promote women's equality is about gender, racial, and economic justice. So I would ask you all, know this, a no vote today is condoning oppression of women in the United States of America, and I urge support and yield the balance of my time.
Okay, so again, the unequal pay thing, that's really all they have. And they don't even have that. She talks about violence against women, which once again is already illegal. We don't need an amendment for that. Did you know there's also no specific amendment that makes it illegal to attack men? There isn't a specific anti-violence against men amendment. Because that's already covered under the basic concept of human rights. And every state in the country has laws against assault and murder, and there are federal laws against it too, and everybody is covered by that, unless you're an unborn child. In which case, women specifically have the unique power to kill you without any legal repercussions whatsoever. And then she goes on, Rashida Tlaib as well, goes on about this oppression of women, saying people are obsessed with oppressing women. Who? Give me an example. Give me a real life, actual example in the United States of oppression against women. Now, you could, of legal oppression against women. Now, you could give me many examples, which Rashida Tlaib seems reluctant to do, but you could give me many examples in Muslim countries of legal oppression of women. That's a real problem. But feminists aren't too focused on that. Instead, they want to find it in the United States. They can't find it. Here's the reality. Now that we've heard the feverish fantasies of these ridiculous feminists, the reality is this. Legally, women have, as I said, all of the rights that men have. You cannot give me an example of a right that men have that women don't. I can, on the other hand, and have already given examples in the opposite direction. One that I've already given, the big one, men have no rights at all as they have no parental rights when their children are in the womb. That's a pretty big example. Nothing like that exists on the other end of the spectrum. Discrimination. Well, I already told you that statistics show that in the legal system, women get lighter sentences than men. Can you show me legal discrimination going in the other direction? And this is to say nothing of the family courts, where women are far more likely to be awarded custody in divorce battles than are men. Now, you could argue that there's a reason for that. You could say that it's not about anti-male bias. I mean, you can't deny that women are far more likely to be awarded custody. That's just true. That's the truth. That's the statistical reality. But you could say, oh, it's not about any kind of broad bias against males. It's just that you could argue men are less likely to fight for custody. You could argue that if a child is going to be predominantly raised by one parent or another, it's better, generally speaking, that it be the mother. You could argue these things. But if you do, you'd be admitting, number one, that men and women are different and must therefore be treated differently, even sometimes in a systemic sort of way, a legal way, and that it's possible to do that in a way that is not bigoted. And then you would also be admitting that there could be non-bigoted reasons for gender disparities. But if you admit that, then you have to go back to any gender disparities where women are on the losing end, potentially, and ask yourself if this applies to that as well. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.